Hello again. I'm David Popeil, your host for Crosscourt Rabbit Complete Tennis. And in this video, I will present the fourth in a series of what I've designated as laws that will help you hit with greater consistency in baseline rallies. This time, I'm going to call upon the famous polymath scientist Isaac Newton and analogize to the replays of contested line calls you see all the time when the pros challenge line calls. The fourth law of consistency is move your feet all the time. From the instant the ball is in play, even an instant before if you're the receiver, until the point is finished and the ball is out of play. I need hardly say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Tennis is a game of movement. I would go so far as to say that movement is the most important part of the game after looking through the contact point. Or maybe movement is even more important than looking through the contact point, which admittedly I have previously said would be the tip I'd give you if I could only give you one tip. And that is still so. But that statement was implicitly based on the assumption that you are in position to hit the ball. And you can't get into position unless you've been moving your feet. Yes, the strokes, the volleys, the overheads must be mastered, but unless you are regularly in good position to execute these facets of the game, there is little hope for you. Let's begin by taking a look at a very good young player. As I'm sure you'll agree, this young man is indeed very good. And one of the reasons that he is very good is that, as you can see, his feet are constantly moving. They never rest. There is a good deal we could note about just how he moves his feet, the timing of the split step being among them. But in this video, I want to focus only on the simple fact that his feet are always moving. By the way, do you recognize this youngster? It's Stefanos Tsitsipas at age 16. And here's another player, this time rallying in practice. It is, of course, Ashley Barty. Her practice partner is, for the most part, hitting right to her. Yet note how, though she barely has to move to hit most of her shots, her feet are constantly moving. You can find the links to these two videos below. And in addition, I suggest that from time to time, when you're watching the pros, either on TV or, if you're so fortunate, live, pick one of the players and, for a time, ignore everything other than that player's feet. Just watch his or her feet. I bet that not only will you see their feet constantly moving, but that you will be, as I often am, something akin to mesmerized by the quickness and fluidity of the movement. I like to think about this fourth law of tennis consistency with a basic law of physics in mind. That law is Newton's first law of motion. You remember it, don't you? From high school or junior high school physics class? No? Well, in that case, here is what Sir Isaac said, in abbreviated and rather grossly modified form so as to render it appropriate for present purposes. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, whereas an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Yes, I know I'm leaving out the whole thing about external and unbalanced forces, but this isn't a physics class. I'm using Newton's law as metaphor. The point being that it is easier to get to the ball if your feet are already in motion than it is from a stationary position with your feet flat on the ground and still. Or, to put it even more succinctly, it is easier to keep moving than it is to start moving. If you keep your feet in motion, you will get to the ball sooner, give yourself more time to execute your shot, and with greater time to execute, you will decrease your unforced errors and thus play more consistent tennis. In later videos, I'll deal with how you should move your feet at various moments during a point. Here I want to address just one of those instances. What you should do with your feet when you arrive at the ball early enough so that you actually have to wait before you can swing. This may be a lob that you can't quite get under in order to hit an overhead, or it may just be a high arcing ground stroke. In either instance, what should you do with your feet while you're waiting? No doubt you have anticipated the answer. Move them. Change their position, even if only ever so little. Why? Two reasons. First, who knows? You may have misjudged your position. And as already noted, it's easier to move your feet into the proper position if they're already moving. The second reason to keep your feet moving while you're waiting to hit is where the analogy to video replays of line calls in the pro game comes in. As I understand it, the replays depend on about a half dozen cameras set around the court, each of which records the ball's path from a different angle. The recordings are then combined and computer analyzed, the result being an accurate 3D image of the ball as it hits or misses the line. Now, I can't say I know of studies that confirm what I'm about to tell you, but my guess is that something similar happens when you move your feet as you wait for the ball. Each step, small as it may be, moves your head and thus your eyes, thereby offering your brain a slightly different view of the ball as it approaches the court surface, lands, and rebounds. Your brain processes these different views and thereby offers you a single accurate 3D image of the ball, much as the replay cameras do, and enables you to adjust your feet and your swing accordingly. Make sense? I hope so. A piece of advice that my old mentor, Ron Rabune, gave me is pertinent to this, the fourth law of consistency. Ron said, take at least 5 steps. That is to say, move your feet at least 5 times on every stroke. And when should you stop moving your feet and take your stroke, hitting with a step forward or with an open stance? You should keep moving your feet until you just don't have any more time. That is to say, until you must execute the stroke. So it's simple. Keep moving your feet. And that's the fourth law. Enjoy this greatest of all games, and I'll see you next time.